Hi, this is Karen White of Divine Time Astrology, and today I'm here with Neeshee.Pandit. And for the past several months, we've been doing monthly forecasts based on the full moon. Well, we've decided to not do that anymore, simply because there are so many astrologers doing really good forecasts. We didn't see how we could really add much to that. In fact, we can even recommend people that we think are really good for watching the monthly forecasts, either for the moon or just the monthly forecasts. I went looking on YouTube to see how many views we were getting, and I had to scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll and never found us. So, of course, we don't want to feel like we're doing this only for maybe a handful of people, if that. So instead, what we changed to is we want to talk about the signs. When you talk about the signs, they will be relevant now and in the future. So you can come back to watch this video every Taurus season. So today we're going to talk about Taurus, and then next month we'll talk about Gemini and so forth. And what we're going to be telling you will be something that you can always refer to during that particular season of the sign. And the way that the season of the sign begins is with the sun. The sun goes into the next sign, and that begins the season of that sign. So right now we're in the season of Taurus, and the sun went into Taurus. Okay, the sun went into the sign of Taurus this past Sunday on April 21st and will continue until May 20th or May 21st. So anyway, so that's the season of Taurus. And which is very apropos that we're starting it at this time. I know we missed Aries, but we'll do a video for that later, and it'll be available for you to watch if you have the sun in Aries or any other planets in Aries. And if you have any planets in the sign of Taurus, then this will be applicable to you. And it's applicable to everyone, actually, because we're all in the season of Taurus. And Neeshee is a Taurus sun.
That's right.
Yeah, and I have my K2 in the sign of Taurus, and I've had many Tauruses in my life. My daughter is a Taurus. My best friend for many years was a Taurus. I have several close, dear friends who are Tauruses. So that's past life associations there. And so we're going to just talk about the qualities of Taurus, and we would like to focus a bit on the consciousness of the signs. And Neeshee, having the Ayurveda background, will also talk maybe a bit more on what Taurus represents in terms of the body as well.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for joining me for this, Neeshee.
Sure. Always happy to be here.
Okay. So Taurus. Well, everybody knows Taurus as the bull. That is his animal totem, I guess you know, his animal symbol. He's 4-footed, which means that he can handle heavy burdens. He can take a lot. He can handle a lot. He's night strong, which means that he is full of ideas, though he's not necessarily full of know-how. It just means that for the planets that are called night strong or back rising, are planets where they take longer to manifest their ideas on the physical concrete plane. Now, Taurus, because it's an earth sign, does correlate to the concrete world. So you want to say something about that, Neeshee?
Sure. I think it's interesting just to consider the animal sign, and in light of the fact that Taurus is actually a feminine sign, I think people might get the impression when they see Taurus as the bull that this is some kind of really intense, masculine energy. But Taurus is actually a very gentle, feminine, receptive sign. And the bull symbol is really about being grounded. And as you said, having those 4 feet on the ground and being able to carry, the burdens of life.
Yeah.
So the carry the burden of life is what gives us stability. As soon as we're not able to deal with something that we're having to deal with, we're stressed out. We're not stable anymore. We are the extreme of that being hysterical states of mind and frenzy and anxiety and so forth. So Taurus is the opposite of all of those qualities. Taurus is not anxious. Taurus is stable, grounded, secure.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing that goes along with that too, because Taurus is the natural ruler of the second house in the birth chart, which, by the way, everybody, you get your birth chart and see where the sign of Taurus is, what house that is, because the sun is going through that right now. And I don't think there are any other planets in the sign of Taurus yet, but there will be. So you can just watch that house during the Taurus season to see what planets are going through it. And of course, if you have any planets already in the sign of Taurus, this will all apply. So, as Neeshee was saying, it's very grounded, stable, 4-footed, concrete, because the earth signs, Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, they are all very, well, they're rational. They're considered to be rational. The consciousness of the earth signs is rational. Do you want to explain what that means, Neeshee? The rational?
Sure. Rational meaning logical and consistent, attentive to the imminency of things and able to plot their way through life by taking into account what's directly before one, Whereas the fire signs are a little bit more visionary in nature and are able to play with all kinds of and consider how they can bring down the forces of heaven on earth and things like that. The earth signs are just about earth, what's here, what's now, how to move forward with what we've got, So that's what makes it kind of practical, rational, it's more straightforward,
Yeah, and Taurus in particular has the good sense to ration what's available. So they're aware of the limitations of the concrete world too, and how to navigate that. So, like you were saying about the fire signs, they're more intuitive and they're thinking about the future usually, whereas earth signs and Taurus in particular is right here, right now. Because Taurus in particular rules the senses, the face. And in fact, this is also feeds right into your expertise in Ayurveda as well. And that is Taurus is responsible for the mouth, the tongue, the teeth, the salivary glands, tonsils, cheekbones, jaw, larynx, the 7 cervical vertebrae, and the upper portions of the esophagus and the trachea. The face is where 4 of the important sense organs, which is the eyes, the tongue, the nose, and the ears, and so are located. And so Taurus gives the capacity for sensual pleasure too, the earthly pleasures that we get here.
So Taurus is about being receptive to that which could flow into our senses,
Yeah, because it's feminine.
Of life, the ability to have a sensual relationship to life comes from Taurus, and that's where we Taurus ruled by Venus, right? Venus is a planet of beauty, of love, of arts, of sensuality, also sexuality, rejuvenation, rest. So all of that is also in Taurus,
And food.
Yeah,
food
that's
food.
True. Taurians are foodies.
Yeah, they are.
Fact.
And they want really high quality foods.
And why is that? Because Venus rules taste. At all levels. In other words, the ability for something to taste good to us, not just in terms of food, but psychologically, emotionally, for something to taste good to us depends entirely on Venus. So Taurus is interested in all the good tasting things in life. Let's put it that way.
This is true. And this time of year too, the spring, oh, there's like all these new, not new, but vegetables that are now in season and fruits that are now in season. And the
And
bees,
fragrant flowers are blossoming.
yeah, it's just wonderful.
It's a sensual, reproductively oriented time.
Yeah, no kidding.
So,
The other thing that's interesting about Taurus in terms of the body is that it literally means the Sanskrit word used for Taurus is anana, A-N-A-N-A, which literally means mouth, and it refers to the mouth and its passage of the throat, as well as the surrounding surfaces of the face and the neck. And then Taurus also holds other important organs and glands such as eyes, nose and sinuses, ears, parathyroid, thyroid, and thymus.
that's why, often I'll see that people have something going on in Taurus. Very common. Not always.
Would you say that again? You got cut off. You got distorted there.
Okay, I said I often see people who have issues with their thyroid gland or thymus gland have some kind of afflictions in Taurus usually.
Oh, really?
Very common. Yeah, I mean, most Taurians that I meet, in fact, especially women, have something going on with the thyroid gland. Yes.
Oh, you know what? Now, I have K2 in Taurus. Would that be considered to be an affliction? Because
yes.
I have
would consider it
Hashimoto's.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. Yeah. No, ever since about a year after I had my daughter, which a gynecologist told me has a big impact on the immune system of a woman, I developed thyroid issues. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
My daughter's a Taurus. So does that...
The other thing I've noticed, you lagged there.
Did I? Okay.
Repeat what you just said, yeah.
Dang it. Okay. Yeah, no, about a year after she was born, I developed thyroid issues. I developed Hashimoto's. And so that means it's all her fault.
Anyone listening right now who has thyroid issues, there's a fantastic book that one of my colleagues just published called Healing the Thyroid with Ayurveda. I highly recommend reading this book. It has all kinds of diet, lifestyle, herbal advice, and it's based on her clinical experience over many years of treating thyroid, Hashimoto's, and autoimmune conditions with Ayurveda. So
okay, what's her name?
What's the what?
The doctor's name.
Marianne Teitelbaum.
Mary Ann Teitelbaum. Okay. T-Y Teitelbaum. I'm sure I'll find it. Okay, thank you for that. That's a great recommendation.
Yep.
I'll definitely read that. Now, let me see. And the thymus, which has to do with, what is that word I'm looking for? Immunity, something to do with immunity.
I noticed the role of the thymus gland in terms of stress because it's really close to the heart. And people who have a lot of emotional stress, they tend to experience deficiencies with their thymus gland.
Okay.
So
yeah, my acupuncturist tells me that he always tells my thymus is not working right.
Mm-hmm.
So I know it declines through age too.
It does.
But is it supposed to do that, or is that just part of the programming that we have because we're not meant to live forever?
That's true. We're not meant to live forever. So the body is in a state of decline more or less as one gets older and older. However, that's the wisdom behind the science of rasayana or rejuvenation in Ayurveda and other forms of traditional medicine, which is the idea that basically at age 50, you should start taking rejuvenatives and participating in rejuvenative rituals and so forth so that you can regenerate the chemistry of the body that is naturally going to go out, so you can enjoy vigor and vitality into your old age. So it's
Ah,
entirely possible to be quite vibrant into one's 70s, 80s, and so on. But it does require an intentional practice. It's not, you can't just, let nature take its course and think, well, if I'm not rejuvenated, I'm not supposed to be. There's certain things you should take into account at that stage of life. Uh,
that's really fascinating. Because Taurus is ruled by Venus, the planet of healing and rejuvenation. Can you tell
that's
us
right.
just a few of these practices you're mentioning?
Sure. I mean, pretty much, I mean, there's quite a range. I would say that from an Ayurvedic perspective, doing like panchakarma, the last
Panchakarma.
phase of panchakarma is rejuvenation, and that's when you're given, you know, definitely like massage therapies, oil-based massage therapies. Those are rejuvenating, but primarily eating nourishing foods and
Okay.
nourishing herbs, rejuvenating herbs. The latter portion of Panchakarma places actually a lot of emphasis on herbal remedies.
Like
Like
ashwagandha.
Chyawanprash is an herbal jam that's a rejuvenative. Taking things like
I
Shilajit,
love-
those kinds of practices are recommended after you've gone through all the purification and rebalancing. Then you're ready to rebuild, and they primarily diet and herbs. Otherwise, the most rejuvenating thing is simply rest.
Rest,
Yes. Getting adequate rest, getting adequate sleep is
sleep.
really important. All those things keep the endocrine system working properly and keep the juices flowing in the glands that are meant to secrete them.
Okay. Um, and of course, meditation, right? That's a rejuvenating
All
practice.
definitely. Meditation is rejuvenating. Sexual activity can be rejuvenating. Um,
It's the time of year
Qigong,
for it.
energy practices, yoga, all of those things are rejuvenating.
Yoga. Oh, yeah. Yoga is really nice.
Anything that's harnessing your life force and cultivating it, strengthening it within yourself, that's going to be rejuvenating.
So, do you have like a consultation that can be completely about rejuvenation? Like at this time of year, do you specialize in anything like that, or is that what you do with every consultation anyway?
Well, in a way, it is what I do with all my consults. I'll always recommend something that is rejuvenating because I've never seen anyone who couldn't use it.
Do you do any form of panchakarma?
I don't do panchakarma in the full traditional sense yet. But when
Okay.
I get back to Hawaii, my plan is to set up my house in such a way that it's more of a clinic and people can come and receive those kinds of therapies.
Oh,
And I
that sounds
want to
great.
actually create retreats around this so people can come for a couple of weeks at a time and really go through the panchakarma properly.
Oh, that sounds wonderful.
So I'm definitely stay tuned because
Okay.
I am wanting to implement that. But for people who want to go through it at home, I do, help take people through cleanses and kind of a moderated form of panchakarma.
Okay. Okay, that sounds really great because this is the perfect time of year for it, right? This is the season where
It
we
is.
need to cleanse.
That's right.
Okay, now the primary functions of the senses is to alert us to the dangers of the environment and keep us alive.
Hmm.
So we don't really want to go down that road of talking about toxins and all that stuff because while we don't have to worry so much about, um, we're not living in caves anymore, but we have other kinds of dangers. So good, clean food, organic foods, all the things that Taurus loves is a good time. It's always a good time for that, but there's an emphasis on that now. And let me see. And then the nose, too, helps us to take in the most necessary ingredient for life, which is air. So you can get maybe an air purifier. And there's a bunch of them. And plants, just plants. Having more plants in your home will purify your air, too. And that, so Taurus is the sign that really represents what nourishes us and keeps us alive. And it's because it is, okay, Aries begins the spring, but Taurus maintains the spring and takes care of it, basically,
Hmm.
because it's a fixed sign. And Taurus represents material security and material stability because it's Earth.
Earth.
Do you want to say anything about that?
Well, I would say that Taurus is a sign of material well-being, you know, of experiencing harmony with the world and one's place in it. So that means also experiencing yourself in a harmonious way, you know, having a relationship with yourself that is positive, you know, and rejuvenating. But
Right.
also feeling that your circumstance in the world, your home, is pleasurable, harmonious, has everything that it needs so that you can feel stable, secure, grounded in it. You know?
Okay, yeah. Right. And the fixed signs are steadfast and they're slow to change.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a Taurus or you have planets in Taurus, you're supposed to be that way.
You're
You're
not
the,
going to like change very much.
yeah, but you're the one who helps to maintain the good things over time.
Mm-hmm.
And I've noticed that I tend to have fixed sign people in my life because I don't have anything in fixed signs except
Interesting.
the nodes, except the nodes. That's all I've got. And so I've noticed that I'm attracted to fixed signs because there's that stability and that
Mm-hmm.
groundedness. And
Anchors you.
what's that?
It anchors you.
It anchors me. And when I had my daughter, my little Taurus daughter, she's the one who truly anchored and stabilized my life. So that was all her fault too, but it was a good thing. And she gave me a focus, just like it
Mm-hmm.
does for most people when they have children. So there's that, and she's very Taurus-like, very Taurus-like. Um, she's very stable. She's very strong. She's physically strong, kind of ruled by Venus, I think. That's probably why.
Taurus is a pretty hardy sign. It's a robust sign. So if you have a significant self factor, meaning sun, moon, ascendant,
Atmakarka.
in Taurus, then there's going to be an element of robustness to your constitution, you know, hardiness. And, you know, on that note, Taurus is really embodies a lot of the qualities of kapha, you know, speaking Ayurvedically.
Okay.
And if you just think about everything we just discussed, you can see why that's the case. Kapha is round and beautiful and, you know, very much a Venusian archetype. The kapha image of a person is very Venusian, round face, large eyes, lustrous, thick hair. That is the kind of Venusian kapha image. These are
Oh, and
people who are.
they also tend to have really thick hair
Mhm.
with a little wave or curl to it,
Yeah.
and thick eyebrows. Have
Yep.
you noticed that about Taurus?
I have noticed that about Taurus. And you'll see there's a fair, you know, some people don't appear as Venusian, but there'll still be some things, you know, that stand out, you know. Like I'm
Yeah.
a good example, you know, I'm pretty thin, you know, that's like my Leo part coming in. But my sun in Taurus, you can see I have thick hair, it's pretty curly. I have thick eyebrows, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
All right.
you can see it in my face more, you know,
Uh-huh.
some of those qualities. Um,
Yeah.
so you'll see it somewhere. But the other thing is that psychologically, kapha is a reliable person. You know, they have the strongest ability to persist in something. You know, Pitta will start something. You know, and
Mhm.
Vata might bring it to an end, but kapha is the one who's going to sustain that thing. You know, they're your best
Exactly.
workers.
So would you say then that Kapha really kind of corresponds to the fixed modality of the signs?
I would say that, yeah. I would
Yeah.
say there's something there that's a valid correlation to make.
Okay.
Now, the imbalance of Taurus, though, is Vata.
Hmm.
See? Because, like, if you look at Brihad Parashara Hora Shastra, it attributes Vata dosha to Taurus. You know, which is strange if you think about it. You know, but
Yeah.
the way that Parashara is looking at it is from the perspective of what is the characteristic imbalance of this sign, not what is its trait, but what is its imbalance. Because dosha means fault. It is a pathological indicator. So when Parashara is attributing doshas to things, he's looking at it from the perspective of pathology, not from the perspective of a neutral trait. Okay,
I
that's
see.
really key to understand that difference. So